approval of the meeting minutes for October 27th, 2025. If anybody has a chance to look those over. They're pretty lengthy, but.
Before you do that, I might explain that we're asking all of you to vote on that because many of you weren't here. Some of you might not have been here at that time, but if we went by who had attended, we wouldn't have a quorum. And state law, as well as our charter, allows for whomever is here now to vote on that. So in order that we can keep our minutes in order, we're going to ask everybody to vote tonight on all of the minutes, even if you didn't attend the meetings.
Rules, right? So the October 27th and also February 23rd.
That's correct.
Correct. Okay. Thank you. Okay, good. Okay, so do we have a motion and a second for the October 27th meeting minutes?
So moved.
I'll move for approval.
Okay, Mr. Ernst made the first motion and Mr. Bills made the second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. All right, motion carried. And then we'll move on to the February meeting minutes. And if you had a minute to look it over, the same if we have a motion to approve in a second.
I move to approve the minutes of the February 23rd meeting.
Okay.
I can second that.
Okay. Ms. Williams made the first motion and Mr. Ernst made the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, motion carried. Okay, thank you. Okay, the next item is old business, and this is the item that that the Planning Commission will consider the issue of residential zoning districts within the city of Clayton. Colin or Ellen, any updates? Do we assume that there's work in progress on that, and we'll continue that discussion in the months ahead?
Yeah, we don't have any updates at this time, but something that we're continuing to monitor, and when the time to address that issue comes about, we'll make sure we give you guys plenty of notice for that.
I did have a question, though.
Of course.
At our joint meeting, we had said we would put together, well, there was going to be a separate subcommittee put together to review the information. Has that happened?
That's something that our city manager, Elaine Whitwin, and our city council are working through. I've provided some input on people that I'd like involved with that, but that's ultimately something when the time to move forward is, we'll kind of work on a committee that would kind of spearhead that, so if it does move forward.
Thank you, Ms. Williamson. Thank you, Colin, very much. Okay, so we'll move on to the new business item, and that's PC 26-02, which is a request for a final subdivision plan for the Hunters Path Extension, Phase 4 subdivision, a proposed residential subdivision, and the request is being made by DDC Management, who is the applicant. I guess, Colin, will you be making the presentation from staff? Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Colin Carville. I am the Development Director for the City of Clayton. The case that I have before you this evening is Hunters Path Phase 4. This is the final phase of the Hunters Path subdivision. It's a little unique in the sense that the first two phases were part of a planned development district, and this is just a straight zoning. So jumping in kind of the history of it, a preliminary subdivision application was approved by the City Council on May 1st, 2025. Along with that, the third phase was also approved at that meeting, to my knowledge. This fourth phase is mirroring basically that preliminary subdivision application that was approved back in May. They're just comfortable with moving forward with this fourth and final phase at this time. So. Jumping into the details of it, it's a 20.85 acre development. The 20.85 is part of the 37.1 total acreage of that. So Phase 3 had the additional acreage, and that's on the eastern side of that development. Location, it's located on Westbrook Road. It's directly south of Mountain Royal Drive. And public notice was sent to all residents within 300 feet, published in the local newspaper with accordance with the Clayton zoning code. The request is 57 single-family homes, as well as 3 open spaces. That aligns with what was proposed in that preliminary subdivision application back in May. This slide here is just an aerial of Clayton as a whole, kind of the southern part of our city. That's just and then that green lot is the total acreage of where Phase 3 and 4 exist. That black rectangle on your screen is the Phase 4. We'll zoom in a little bit closer here. That's a better aerial view of the subject property that we're working with. Please note in that southwestern corner, there's a water tower. That is not a part of this development. So that is its own parcel. So that is not included, obviously, in this development. But it will remain. This is a first look at that, not a first look, but this is the preliminary plan that was approved back in May last year. And jumping right into the final plan, staff, as well as our engineer and other contracted services have reviewed both plans. There's some very, very minor changes in the acreage of the lots, but the total number of lots remains the same. A little bit of the open space has been reduced in favor of giving more size to the lots in the development. But ultimately, there were no major changes or shifts from the preliminary plan to the final plan that were any concern to staff. And here's just another look at the final plat here. What's specific about this slide is it kind of shows where those homes will sit on the lot. So that's kind of the buildable area with the setbacks and driveways included for your review. Now, as we jump into the zoning, this is a look at our zoning map for the area. So as you can see, we are working with the RSD zoning district here. That stands for Residential Single Unit District. What that calls for, it has a variety of permitted and conditional uses that are approved in there. What we're working with this evening, what staff classifies the application as, are single detached single family homes. That's a permitted use within this district. So it is a permitted use. Some of the dimensional standards that we're working with in the zoning district here, it's pretty black and white. So it's the street frontage and width needs to be 60 feet. Now we take that at the setback line. So it's some of those homes that are on a cul-de-sac, the frontage might be a little skewed, but we take that at the setback line. So that's where that 60 feet comes in. Staff reviewed all of the proposed lots. The lowest lot frontage was 61 feet, with some having some slightly larger. The minimum lot size is 0.15 acres. All the Phase 4 lot sizes, they range from 0.1570 to 0.4872 at the largest. But once again, there's no kind of density requirements in a straight zoning district. So as long as they meet that 0.15 acreage threshold, which all of the lots do, it's good for and in good standing with the city. And then jumping to some of the setback requirements, the front is 20 feet, the side is 10, but it needs a 20-foot aggregate between the two homes, and rear is 30 feet. As I mentioned in that previous slide, they've already highlighted kind of that buildable area for the homes. And from this cursory review, these setback requirements are met here. But once again, every single home that is proposed or brought to the city is reviewed on an individual basis. So Ellen and myself will ensure that all the setback requirements are met for the lot proposals. Otherwise, they won't get their zoning approval for the homes. All right, jumping to some of the analysis here. Once again, just the main stats of this proposal. It's 57 single-family homes. It matches the preliminary proposal. They're proposing 4.7820 acres of open space. That's about 22.94% of the overall proposal. Roughly 3.7016 acres will be dedicated as right-of-way. There'll be one access point to Westbrook Road to the south. In the original preliminary proposal, there was some discussion between a connection to the west there. Ultimately, given the terrain, I believe there's a wetlands area there that was deemed not feasible. And just as putting on my planning hat in cases like this, we like to have connectivity between our neighborhoods. But as long as, it wasn't feasible with this and it was okay with our fire department not to have that connection to the west. So ultimately, staff was okay with what was being proposed. They will connect to the there's existing utilities in the area, so they will connect to those. And then new infrastructure will include streets, sidewalks, and the continuation of that multi-use path that you're probably all familiar with on that Westbrook Road there on the south. The neighborhood amenities will also have open spaces and passive open space around kind of the detention basins surrounding it. Jumping into the building design, basically the only black and white standard that is outlined in the RSD district is that last line there. It states all front facades must be at least 50% natural or approved synthetic natural materials. Examples of brick or stone. That's kind of the one thing that we look for in what is being proposed. In the PDD districts, I believe the standard was 25%, so this standard in the straight zoning is heightened here, so they have to provide a little more brick on that front facade. Base home price that we're looking for in this fourth and final phase is around $250,000. Realistically, with add-ons and things like that, you're going to be looking at the mid to low 300s. As far as a final sales price on the homes. I included some architectural elevations in your planning packet, but we'll look at a couple of the slides here. And once again, those elevations will also be looked at on an individual basis by Ellen and myself prior to issuing individual zoning permits for the builds. So there's a combination of, depending on what prospective residents are looking at. There's a combination of kind of that double story, single story, whatever they would prefer. And because it is a straight zoning, it is already zoned RSD. There's not much given to the land use plan because we're not dealing with a zoning change there. But we always do like to look at our zone, our land use plan, comprehensive plan, just to ensure that we're following kind of the intent, even though if it's zoned correctly. So they designate this area as single family homes. The standards that they outlined in that follow suit with the zoning district, so it kind of aligns with that area well. Don't really envision anything else that the land could be utilized for. So staff was comfortable with this proposal. So ultimately, staff is recommending approval of this application request, subject to the 9 conditions that I outlined in your draft resolution here. Happy to answer any questions. I know we have our applicant here this evening, but once again, thank you for your time, and happy to answer any questions that you do have. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. We'll go ahead and ask Mr. Benfeld. Is that right? Do you want to come up and address the application?
Ross Bainfelt with DDC Management, 360 Rigby Road, Miamisburg, Ohio. We were also the developer for the first 2 phases of Hunter's Path. Phase 3 as well, which is currently under construction on site. And this would be for phase 4, which ideally we would start construction on that somewhere this time or sometime this year still. The reasoning for that is the long lead times. Once you complete construction, there's still 3 to 4 months typically of getting our gas and electric installed and having powered lots available for Arbor Homes. So with the 40 lots, or only the 40 lots, let's say, in phase 3, they're going to be ready for these additional lots pretty quick. And if we waited to start that construction season in 27, we'd get into a pretty big pinch and potentially not have lots available for them. So it may seem wild that we're getting ready to put all these lots, both these phases in 3 and 4, together within the next year, but that's the reasoning. Yeah, you can get a project paved, and then by the time you work with CenterPoint and AES, those are some pretty long timelines. But yes, Ellen and Colin have done a nice job laying this out, and I'm certainly here to answer any questions you guys have. I'll be available.
Okay, Mr. Benfeld and Colin, does the commission members have any questions?
I do have a few questions in regard to staff. So in our packet, we have construction details and such, but we go from sheet 9 to sheet 36.
Sure.
And what's not provided is the grading plan, construction details, storm details, stormwater pollution prevention plan for NPDES Phase 2. So how can we see those sheets?
Certainly. Staff is, this is one of the first, subdivisions that I'm bringing through to you. I'm not, I don't have kind of that engineering background to answer kind of comments on that. We outsource to an engineering firm. I trust the standards for that they're reviewing and meeting all those standards for me to give a positive recommendation for the application.
I can appreciate that, but for me to make any type of decision on this, to see those details, especially given the comments that came through in the preliminary from the public, the concerned people that were mostly adjoiners, looking at the issues with, where is the construction entrance for this? And I believe that Mr. Muncy had looked for that on the preliminary plan, not to mention the fact that a lot of concerns with drainage and how that was going to be handled, existing infrastructure along the drainage channel, and connectivity to Westbrook. So again, without having these individual sheets that are referenced in here, it's very difficult for me to understand how, the drainage is going to happen, how, the MS4 is going to be protected during construction, and so on.
Sure. I guess, if they were provided, I'm not sure how they would be able to be answered if you had concerns. I guess that's where I stand with it. So, I mean, if we, when we get the reviews from our engineer, contracted engineer, they're ensuring that all the standards are met. And if they're not met, we wouldn't certainly get their recommendation for approval. So I guess that's kind of why.
I understand that, but I guess for me to make a decision as to whether to vote to approve this, not having that and being able to look at those things, especially based upon the concerns that were brought up during the preliminary, then that's a very difficult leap for me to make.
Sure, and it's a public record. I am happy to provide those to you at any time. But yeah, that was I kind of focused on the parts of the document that are relevant for the application. Not that that's not relevant, but stuff that I can comment on and address in a setting like this.
I appreciate that,
Mm-hmm.
but once the developer leaves and the bond is lifted, then it's going to be up to the city of Clayton to deal with any type of issues with drainage and so on and so forth. So again, those are just my concerns based upon the
Certainly.
information that I have in front of me to make a decision.
Absolutely, and the city wouldn't release any permits without, you know, final approval from our engineer and the final go-ahead. And that's kind of where my stance is on it. But thank you, I appreciate your concerns.
Oh, just for the record, though, I mean, did the engineering firm come back and express any significant concerns?
No, they did. They completed a full cursory review of the plans. There were some minor stormwater concerns that were addressed with the second resubmittal. And once again, that'll be a final review will be done by the engineering firm prior to release of any zoning permits.
Mr. Benfeld, just given Mr. Ernst's comments, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I was gonna layer into that. So, the city of Clayton uses Kleiningers for their engineering review. They do a very nice job. We've worked with them on other projects. In addition to that, Montgomery County provides your soil and water inspections. So Andrew and his team there at the county reviewed the plans as well and provide feedback. I know his feedback was part of the comments we received on the first round of comments that we got. All pretty normal stuff. There wasn't anything that our engineer CSO flagged to us as a problem. So everything's felt pretty normal. In regards to our construction entrance, for phase 4, it'll come right off of Westbrook. So just like phase 3 also comes off of Westbrook just to keep traffic from going through the existing subdivision. Phase 4 will also come off of Westbrook. And then to layer on to what Colin said about connecting in the early stages of the preliminary plat, we had talked about, and we originally had it drawn to connect into the city of Inglewood. In contacting the city of Inglewood during that process, they said no. So, Colin absolutely was correct that there's some wetland conditions and things that we're avoiding with this layout, but primarily it was because the city of Inglewood said no. But in regards to overall drainage, most of our stormwater, all of our stormwater is going to a detention basin that sits on the east side of this particular footprint there today. And not that I have the right pieces to show you, but I do certainly have paper copies of those grading plans if you wanted to look at them now, later, or whatever you choose. But know that Kleiningers is looking out for the city of Clayton, and that's where your risk is being covered in their review.
Mr. Ernst, any further questions?
Not at this time.
Okay. Mr. Bills, Ms. Williams?
So I have a question maybe for Colin, Ellen. What is our task here with this particular project?
Sure. So you'll be making a recommendation this evening, either a positive or negative recommendation to City Council, and they will be reviewing. And you're basically approving the final phase 4 here of the subdivision.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and ask for a motion and a second to open the floor to public comment.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to open for public comment.
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Ernst made a motion to open the floor to public comment. Mr. Bill seconded. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, well, we'll go ahead and start the public comment. I'll go ahead and, I think I have everybody who signed up, and if you didn't, you can just let me know, and you'll have to sign your name here. But we'll start with Mr. Ralph Evans. Mr. Evans, give your name and address. If you could please give your name and address. Thanks.
Ralph Evans, 6022 Mount Laurel Drive. First off, the drainage is a big issue. They don't have all the information for the drainage, and I'm really concerned about that because my house is the last house right there where that cul-de-sac is. And I get all the water from this field going right down through my yard. And since the contractor in Inglewood fixed the water situation in Inglewood, all the water is running through the property really fast and quick, and there's not a lot of backup. I appreciate that guy. over in Inglewood for what he did. He did a really good job. But anyway, like I said, it's 940 feet above sea level, and I'm at 932, 933. I'm gonna get some water. I know some of it's gonna be taken up by the streets and everything, but I wanna know the back of the property, the dead tree line on, we talked about that, I'm sure we have in the past. Of all the dead trees all along the backside of Mount Laurel Drive into this plat, there's a lot of dead trees that need to be come down. And I wanna know what they're gonna do about that wetlands right over on these people's property. I think that is what, 196? Because the farmer don't even plant that. He goes around it because it's so wet. The clay there is really thick. When they did the drilling, preliminary drilling, they drilled way up on top of the hill, pretty much, away from that area. And you can look at that right now. I can take pictures and send it to any of you guys. It's wet. It's really wet. So I'm just concerned about if these people go ahead and build their homes and everything in there, and their back corner of the yard's gonna be full of water, then they're not gonna like the contractor because they're gonna have a lot of water in their backyard because it ain't gonna drain. We gotta figure out a way to drain all that out of there without tearing all the tree lines out and getting rid of all the dead trees. That's my concern. And I agree with Mr. Ernest here about we gotta see all the plans, how they're gonna do it. And how they're gonna do it, and, so that it's fair to everybody. That's all I have to say.
Yes, sir. Mr. Michael Watson? Mr. Watson, if you would, give your name and address.
Sure. Hello. Michael Watson. I currently live at 8667 Cricket Maple Drive in Black Lick, Ohio, outside of Columbus. I actually signed up to speak to you about a different matter, so I didn't. This is my first time in one of these meetings. I just realized sitting there with my mother and my sister. Last time I was in a city commission meeting, I had to do it for senior year in high school, so that was 47 years ago. So I had a different matter, so I don't have any comment about.
Joyce, can we ask Mr. Watson to speak after
Sure.
we take action?
Yes, this is just
So do you
about
can you
this.
stick around? So
Absolutely.
come up right after this?
Thank
Okay,
you.
okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Ms. Penelope Jackson? Okay. And if you would just repeat your name and address too, Ms. Jackson. Thank you.
My name is Penelope Jackson, and I live at 2016 Ivy Road, New Hunter Path subdivision. Let me know if this is not allowed. In regards to draining, I live there. That has not even fixed yet. My backyard get very flooded, and every summer they're saying they're going to be fixing that. It has not been fixed at all. Just wanted to let you know that about it. And also, in regards all these new houses that they're going to be building, my concern it is about where are we going to be putting all these kids in school? Because right now, kids are sitting on the floor. I have an 8-year-old that goes to Northwood Elementary, and he's sitting on the floor because there is 28 kids in the classroom, and even the principal told us that they didn't even know what to do with these new subdivisions kids. So it is like, what are we doing? Another part real quick there, it is, it's a safety. It's a safety hazard that we are not thinking about it. And at the end of the year or the beginning of next year, I know we're going to be having a levy that will have to pass for build a new school because there's no space right now whatsoever. That's my biggest concern right now.
How long have you lived there?
I'm going to be 2 years, ma'am, this year.
And the entire time your backyard has been flooded?
Yes. The whole line, actually, of the same people that live on my same line, they're all, like, it's just floated. There is one of my neighbors that they told her that last summer they were going to fix her backyard. That was a lie. It hasn't been fixed, neither mine. So there is no drain. The water just rains, and the water just stay there because it has nowhere to go. That's it. Thank you.
For being here, thank you. Okay. Anybody else? All right. Oh, Joyce, sorry.
I didn't get sworn in, but may I
Oh,
speak?
please, yeah, please.
I solemnly swear that the testimony that I may give before the board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. I'm Joyce Dietering, 320 Tuxford Place, and I don't know if if you provided the landscape. Was the landscape provided?
The only landscaping that will be provided would be kind of at the entranceway along with a monument sign.
Okay, because if you look at the plan Clayton, it clearly says that we want to have our walkway, our trail or whatever, we want to have shaded walkways. That's really a big goal of the area, and we've got the walkway. And the walkway that we have in the other phases of this, it's there, but there's no shade at all, and it's really quite glaring to those of us who've been used to the bucolic area that was there for the past 60 years to come up and see all of it. And it's not really it's not the 60% or the 50% brick or stone or natural sides that you see when you come up Westbrook Road there and you see the walkway. It's the other sides. And it would be certainly nice if there was some landscape there. And now that we have the opportunity to put landscape in, at least on the walkway there, and any other area that you can put landscape in, it would certainly be appreciated by the rest of us residents. Thank you.
Joyce,
Yes.
you live in what phase of this? Or you just live near?
Oh, I live on Tuxford up here, but when I've lived here for 60 years.
When you drive down the
and when you
street, that's
drive
what you're
by
right.
there, and it used to be a farm field, and it's a lot different now. It's shocking, really, to see the back sides of all these houses now. And when it used to be bucolic farm fields, and it would be nice to at least have a few trees.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and thank you, Joyce. We'll go ahead and ask the applicant if they wanted to have any comments about the public comments.
Thank you. Following up to Mr. Evans' comments, and he did acknowledge it, and he's absolutely right. The street network itself and the storm system that's going to go in is absolutely going to change the way the storm water is handled inside of that piece of property. Where there was a more significant area that may have gone directly to that northwest corner, that's going to be handled in a different manner by entering catch basins on the street, catch basins in rear yards, and then that gets channeled to the storm pond that unfortunately you don't see on a drawing. But on the one that is on the board, it would sit just to the left of this cul-de-sac, which is phase 3, so it sits in this space here. But that's where the storm water is going to go to, through storm water pipes. Part of his question about lot 196, let me get my bearings here. Yeah, I'm getting there. So 196 is just to the right side of what I refer to as an elbow, kind of a drive-through cul-de-sac. I can't jump high enough to get there.
Top
But-
left corner of the screen.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, where he's got that red dot is 196. Yep, so that's a good example. And then Mr. Evans lives right behind, basically where his red dot is today. Yep. So what you can't necessarily tell on this drawing is there's a storm easement and an existing storm pipe between lot 196 and 197, which is directly to its right. And there's going to be a catch basin in that backyard between property lines 196 and 197, which is approximately where Mr. Evans mentioned the wettest part of that field is. I know he referred to it as a wetland area. I appreciate that comment, but it's not identified as a wetland. Certainly the farm field's wet. However, the farmer has been farming it. Certainly it's probably not his favorite part in that field, having some experience in that as well, but he's able to get through it. So I think we're going to improve Mr. Evans' water situation. And then in regards to dead trees in the tree line, we've committed to Arbor Homes, the builder, that we, and it's normal practice for us, we'll go back into a certain amount of space beyond the building pad and remove dead trees. Those are kind of difficult to assess at this point of time of year, but before too long we should be able to. Certainly when we're in that July time frame, that's something that we certainly are able to do. In regards to Mrs. Jackson's comments, I do not work for Arbor Homes whatsoever, but I'm certainly going to take her comments and get those back to the folks at Arbor Homes. I understand her frustration in regards to not feeling that she's being heard, but I cannot help her directly on that one at this time. But I can certainly assist with getting her in touch with the right people, or the right people contacting her. Let me make sure I covered everything she had on there.
Mr. Benfeld, could, just to make a finer point, would you be able to just give her your contact information so she can reach out to you? Because, and I believe you'll do it, but sometimes that stuff makes a difference in these situations, right?
Yeah, I've talked to some of her neighbors, not directly, but it's certainly normal for me to talk to people in the subdivision. As a developer, we're certainly involved with the homeowners association while homes are being built, and that's where most of my contact points come from.
Question for you, but you all were the builder on those other phases, right?
Developer.
The developer, right, developer, yeah, gotcha. So the plan that was put into place to take care of that water apparently is not working.
Yeah, just from experience, at one point that water probably moved just fine. As home building construction occurs and that final grading effort happens after the construction of the home, sometimes it can be a product of unexpected settlement. Possibly the home builder left an area too low as well, and so now they have a ponding area or an area too high downstream where it can't continue to pass. But without having seen it, I certainly can't point a finger at one of those, but it's not totally uncommon, and it's something that home builders sometimes have to go back and address. Not necessarily in the time manner that she has described, but ideally something quicker than that. So I'll help her implement, and I'll better understand what's going on, I guess.
Ask another question, well, two questions. Actually, Ms. Dietering had the landscaping question. Can you address that a little bit? I mean, is there anything that can be?
Yep, I certainly have a drawing I can show you of what the front entry will look like, and it does include some landscaping around a monument sign, and it does go a little bit to the west of where that monument sign is. The monument sign's mainly in proximity to the entry, and we go, I'd say, 20 feet to the west of that. That's something we can certainly extend further to the west along that path. It's not directly on the path. We've held it back for not just visibility at that intersection, but presentation and visibility of the sign as well. But it certainly does create a buffer between the homes and Westbrook Road. So what we've proposed on that landscape drawing could certainly be extended that additional distance to the west. That's certainly fair. From the entry street that you see there going to the east, it very quickly ends up in that wooded existing ditch area or terrain that's there today, where water empties out of the subdivision to the north, Mount Rural Drive. From their storm ponds, it goes through the stream there. The dashed line that you see that kind of runs along that right border, the eastern border, that's a Montgomery County sanitary easement, and it sits just to the west of that existing tree line and ravine that you see in running north-south. So there's not really anything that you could add there because there's just not going to be space for it. It's just ditch and ultimately goes right into that bridge or culvert crossing that's on Westbrook. But yeah, you certainly have space from the entry road to that west property line that we could extend our landscaping plan for that for sure.
I don't want to hog all the time here, but just maybe one more question. And Mr. Evans talked about, and I know you talked about this, but can you explain it in maybe more terms that somebody like me can understand, like what the fix could be for that, if you could?
Yeah, I mean, I really think the fix for whatever water flow he's experiencing today, the property itself rolls pretty significantly from Westbrook Road all the way to his rear property line. His property line is certainly at a higher elevation than Westbrook Road, but when you look out from Westbrook Road, it kind of ups and downs. The elevation changes, but for the most part, a majority of that water, most of it, goes to the east and ends up in that large ravine, which if it has a name, I apologize, I don't know that, but that's what it ends up in. To solve his problem, it's really the changing of the storm infrastructure, changing the way that that's going to drain. There is some grading, obviously, that's going to occur here. We're going to follow a majority of the terrain. Obviously, it's going to rise as you drive up from Westbrook Road, but we'll be changing the overall surface or plane, and that water is going to get collected in a different fashion. And that's really going to change the way the water would be handled. Instead of whatever portion is directly being thrown at him today, it's going to be managed a little differently. And then you couple that with the rear storm catch basin that's going to be between lot 196 and 197, like we mentioned a little bit ago, and it should significantly change things.
Members have any other further questions of the city staff or the applicant? I did have one more comment. Okay.
So just, one, the landscaping plan was included in your packet. It was right before you kind of get into the elevations of the homes. But then just speaking to the stormwater calcs as well, new developments, in order to get engineering and Ohio EPA approval, they cannot make conditions worse than what's already existing. I think that's a common misconception with new developments, as new developments will create, as the applicant stated, it'll make the conditions out there better. All we can work with right now is, the calculations and the visuals, but until they're actually out working there, can they truly kind of address those issues? So, but once again, I have full confidence in our engineering team that they will do the right thing and make sure that the plants are good for not only this development, but the surrounding neighbors as well. So, thank you.
Okay. All right, if there's no further discussion among the commission members, we'll go ahead and ask for a motion or a second to recommend approval. Oh, thank you. Thank you,
Mr.
Barbara.
Chair,
Thank you.
I did have one other question for staff. I apologize. Does Cleininger do the construction management during construction? Are they're doing inspections?
Yes, they handle the inspections as in conjunction with our service department. There are our
Right.
team out there with Randy and his staff. Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Ernst. Okay, we'll ask for a motion and a second to close the public hearing.
I move to close the floor for public comments.
I can second that.
Okay. It's been motioned by Ms. Williams, seconded by Mr. Ernst. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Okay, so we'll go ahead and ask for a motion or a second to recommend approval with conditions, or disapproval to the applicant's request.
Mr. Chair, I just had a couple of discussion items among commission members. I think there's been a lot of concern that I heard not only at last year's commission meeting, but also at council meeting in regard to multiple things. Some of those have been addressed tonight in regard to drainage issues, in regard to schools and overcrowding, traffic control, and so on. I think we all want success. We'd like to see, everything be developed accordingly and have success there. And that way we continue to grow in a smart direction. I guess one of my biggest concerns is that the ingress-egress. And I understand that fire and police have already reviewed and approved everything. But from somebody that would actually be buying a lot, paying $300,000+, and having one way in, one way out, where there's probably not going to be any type of traffic control device right there on Westbrook, which I don't have anything in regard to construction plans to show that any different. So part of that success for this development is actually enticing people to actually purchase a home there and have it built. It seems like the first, 3 phases did not even take that into consideration, or else it would have been addressed that there would be at least 2 access points for ingress-egress. So those are some of my concerns that I have. The other issue had to do with Arbor Homes made commitments to people that were purchasing lots in regard to that they would have green space behind, as opposed to having other homes built. So I don't know how those have been addressed, if those people have been, satisfied with the results from Arbor Homes, but they are the same developer. The same builder.
Patrick, I think that there was the attempt to have a second exit, but Englewood said no. They just shut it down.
I understand that, but that would be part of the planning process, is to actually communicate with the city of Englewood and say, is this a possibility? And if the possibility was no, then the design should have been taken into account for any of the previous phases. I understand there's a significant challenge with phase 3 going into phase 4 because of the drainage channel. That would be very, very expensive to actually put a roadway through there. But the other 2 phases could have been addressed.
Colin, just to address Mr. Ernst's question, as part of just as a reminder, so as part of the process, the police chief and the fire chief have an opportunity to form an opinion on this, and just, I don't know, can you talk about that for a second?
Correct, yeah. So part of our planning process, plan review process, we bring in all the decision makers where decisions like this directly affects them. We take account for the fire department being able to get their vehicles back there. Our fire chief wouldn't sign off on plans if he had concerns with that. And I want to kind of reassure the board that we're making kind of a zoning decision this evening. So we got to look at kind of the black and white zoning aspects of our code. And, you know, if they meet the standards set forth and the people that are doing the day-to-day operating in the subdivision are okay with it, that's why we're comfortable with recommending approval.
And I appreciate that. I understand that we're really, as Mr. Muncy had brought up before, you know, to coin his term, calling balls and strikes and making sure that everything conforms. So that's one thing. The other thing is in regard to police and fire, 100% confidence in what they have to say. However, perception as to somebody that is going to spend $350,000 on a home and have it built, are they going to be protected? And I think that perception may not coincide with reality, but perception may prevent success for this phase.
Sure, but ultimately that's for the potential residents to decide. The only other thing I wanted to mention as well is there was a traffic study completed that was reviewed at that third phase. So just wanted to reiterate that. Didn't want to, and that accounted for both phase 3 and 4. So you know, I didn't think it was needed mentioning because I thought that was included in that previous one. But I'm happy to include that. It's a public record upon request as well.
So Colin, I had asked kind of the question before, what is it that we're trying to make a decision on? Is it strictly a zoning?
Yes, correct.
So the details of the development plan are something in our purview or not?
So yeah, they are part of your purview, but the application does meet our base zoning requirements.
All right, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Ms. Williams, Mr. Bills, do you have any questions or comments? Mr. Ernst, are you good for now? You have any further questions? Okay. Go. Mr. Bills? Any further questions?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and just ask again if there's a motion or a second to to recommend approval with conditions, or disapproval to the applicant's request.
I move that we approve the plan as laid out by staff in their recommendation to approve.
Okay, I would second. Okay, we'll go ahead and call, second with the stipulations laid out in the draft resolution. Thank you. Is that your first? Was that, okay, all right.
I'm in my motion to include that.
Okay, thank you. And I would second. Okay, we'll go ahead and call for, a vote. Barbara?
Mr. Foley?
Aye?
Mr. Bills?
No.
Ms. Williams?
Aye.
And Mr. Ernst?
No.
Okay, so we'll, I think what will happen, Joyce, is that this does not pass. Go ahead.
That's correct.
Yeah, and then I guess the applicant would have the opportunity to come back at some point in time, right?
That's correct.
Yep, okay.
So we're not done yet, right?
Go ahead. Yep.
So I'd make a motion that we table this so we can collect the other information that we're looking for and have it before the next meeting.
Well, you've already voted, so it's too late to table.
No, it failed 2-2. It failed 2-2.
So he can bring it back, but he has to go through the process. That's up to the developer.
I think at this point, you know, we have the answer on it. Colin, do you want to give any context about what, like, you know, just do you want to talk about what you think could happen next? If not, we'll go ahead and we'll just go ahead and ask Mr. Watson to come up, but give us a second if you can.
Yeah, I will get with the developer, obviously legal here, just to make a final determination on where this application stands and how we can move forward or not. So,
Okay. Mr. Watson, welcome back.
All right. Again, Michael Watson. The address for why I'm here is 7005 Westbrook Road in Clayton. And 3 months ago, I purchased a 1 acre lot at the corner of Westbrook and Hoke. And I failed to bring a schematic, so. But if you know where Moss Creek development is, I own the lot that is in the corner of Westbrook and Hoke, right across from Moss Creek. So I purchased that lot 3 months ago. Been in conversations with Ellen. I see Ellen and Randy. Everyone's been really nice. I was actually having a conversation with Randy exactly a month ago today, and he informed me that there is a planned roundabout at Westbrook and Hoke. And folks have been talking about this roundabout, but I had been under the impression, because there's 6 acres next to the lot that I bought, that there was going to be a roundabout in that proposed development, and found out in that conversation a month ago that no, the roundabout's at Westbrook and Hoke, and there's a likelihood that there would be a need to encroach on the lot that I purchased. So that's, I've got a signed contract with Schumacher Homes, looking really to invest almost $1 million into that piece of property that's been sitting there probably 50 years, right? So, but what's really kind of got me tied up right now is that while the roundabout is proposed, there's really no timeline for a decision. And so I'm in a holding pattern with the builder ready to start building and a construction loan that I had to start paying on last month. So I just thought I would come here and say, if there's anything that can be done to kind of push a decision forward, I'd love the decision to be, we don't need a roundabout there at Westbrook and Hoke for another 100 years. But either way, a decision would be better than a holding pattern. And so as your new Clayton resident and neighbor, I just ask kindly for a decision.
Mayor Farmer's here. Do you want to make a comment? Do you want to come up, just make a comment about that? Because it might be, maybe give... No, I would just say, that I was about to say, Mr. Watson could talk to the city, but since the mayor's here, he can maybe address it.
The mayor.
Hi, Ryan
Hi,
Farber. Pleasure to
Michael
meet you,
Watson.
sir.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Not-
Yeah, watch your
not-
step
Not
there.
trying to put you on the spot.
Well, it's okay.
Everyone's been real nice.
Well, I'm sure I'm probably going to get some things wrong. Do I need to take an oath to say anything? Okay. All right. I'm sure probably what I would have to offer, it will need to be corrected later. But my understanding is that we have, there is a roundabout to go there. If you've ever driven it, it has, you've driven that. You've probably seen it is somewhat unsafe for visibility. And there have been a lot of accidents there, and because of that, the state is willing to foot most of the bill through a grant to allow us and the city of Trotwood to join in and put a roundabout there. I don't have the specific timeline for that. I know that I certainly hope it's not like the other roundabout we're trying to build. It's taken us years to get to that one. I don't think this one is going to take that. Ellen, would you have any insight as to the timeline? So I can pass the baton too.
To the point that it's in the pipeline, and it's and for Mr. Watson's benefit, chances are it's going to get built, but the city's not necessarily in control of the whole thing. Is that correct?
We can only do our part in terms of, I think, engineering plans and paying our share of it, and working with Trotwood and the state on coordinating when that actually occurs. But my understanding is that it would be sooner rather than later. And certainly this is homework for me to be sure I know when the window of opportunity is for that to go in. But I think I've shared as much as I know, and I'm a little embarrassed I don't know more, so. So, do you know more, Ellen? I'll give that to you.
So I think there's a little bit of confusion with the commission versus city council here. This isn't something that would come before planning commission in any capacity. It's a single-family home that we haven't received an application for at this point. There is a roundabout there, and we've kind of communicated with the would-be applicant about, you know, hey, the setbacks might be a little bit differently when the roundabout goes in here. And from my understanding, and again, this is totally Randy's baby, the state funds 90% of that. It's grant funded, and so it kind of depends on when the engineering is approved. It has to all be, every single step has to be approved by ODOT and city, and then we're coordinating between the city of Clayton and then also the city of Trotwood as well.
And that would also include any type of takes for rights of way.
Exactly, yep.
Mr. Watson, I have a question for you. So the roundabout, here, the roundabout is taking up not necessarily a significant portion of your front yard, but I'm assuming it's the front yard where it's going to go.
Actually, I've decided to face the home on the towards Hoke Road
Okay.
instead of Westbrook now.
Okay.
But because the land's already been surveyed and the paperwork, while Ellen's right, it hasn't been submitted, Schumacher held off submitting because they thought it was moot with the new information, right? So it's ready to go. We're just trying to understand whether the plans need to be changed.
Gotcha, okay. But you're okay with, I mean, not necessarily okay with,
Yes, ma'am.
but I guess you would be okay if it was to go in and the part of your land is going to be taken.
That's my understanding, that's the proposal. I just don't know how much that, and how, you know, how
Far
much I'd
into
have to
your-
move over, and even if I have enough room, you know, my lot runs 231 feet on the Westbrook side, but only 188 and a half feet on the Hoke Road side. So I don't have a lot of room to move back, so.
Sure, okay, gotcha.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I think that is the last new business. We'll go, I guess the next meeting, Colin, you'll let us know if there's anything on the agenda for the April 27th, 26th meeting, and if not, we won't have a meeting. With that, I would ask for a motion and a second to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Mr. Ernst probably motion first, and Ms. Williams second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right.